Welcome to ICS 101, the session on computer hardware. My name is Peter Michael Seidel. I'm a faculty in the ICS department, and one of my areas of specialization is computer hardware. Before I had joined UH, I have been working in industry for advanced micro devices, AMD, and I've been part of a team that designed the processors that are currently used in the Xbox One game console and in the PlayStation 4 game console. Today's session in ICS 101 will focus on some basic understanding of how computer hardware works, and I will provide you with a better understanding of how computers work internally to execute and run your software. So if you think about computing, there are many different forms and shapes in which computers are sold. Anything from cell phones to game consoles, from laptops to desktop computers and even to servers are different types of computers. They all meet some different needs of computing and provide a solution for those needs in their different form factors. If you think about a single car, nowadays a typical car, each single typical car has over 50 different microprocessors in it, and each of them has a very special function. So looking around, computers are almost anywhere and have a large impact on our lives. Today we want to talk about all of these computing devices in a very general way and mainly focus on what they have in common. If you look at the computers of this slide, you'll see that they all have some input and output devices so that they can communicate with the user. Internally, they all have a processor that does the basic computation tasks, and they also all have internally some memory device that is able to store information and provide that information later. The basic structure built from the input and output devices, the processor and the memory, is very similar in all of those computers, and the computing forms you see in the slide are just some very complex realizations of the structure. In our presentation today, we will just consider a very simple case that has a similar structure, but that allows us to better take a look at how the basic functionality of those computers work. If you take a closer look at a desktop computing system, the computer case is including the main components that are responsible for the computations. So here on the slide on the right hand side you can see a view of this case being opened up. In the back of this case you can see the structure that is called the main board, which includes the main computing elements and the memory. We have another view of this main board on the next slide. So this is a more structural view where I want to highlight two units on this main board. That is the CPU, which is the central processing unit, which is your main processor doing all the calculations. And then there is the RAM, the random access memory, which is the main unit to store and provide information for your computations. These are the two main units that we will take a closer look at in the following clip. So we'll focus on these two components and their interaction and get some understanding of how they process information. To conclude with the introduction, I mainly want to provide you also with a bigger picture. So looking at this computer hardware is giving you some description of how physical computation can work. So what we are seeing here as computer hardware are some physical devices that allow to support logical computations. In that we have some way of representing bits of information. That is, we are able to represent a 0 and a 1 and use devices of gates to process several bits and process logical functions on those several bits, ultimately building functional units in data paths that provide the instructions and that provide the functionality that the processing unit can perform, and the units of control and memory then allow to program very general computing functionalities just by configuring the software that is provided to that processor. So the simple CPU that we are covering in this session is giving you some basic structure of computing hardware. Various disciplines in computer science are dealing with how improvements over the simple computing architecture can be performed. So there is the area of computer architecture, which is a discipline to improve the hardware of the computer itself. There's the discipline of programming languages, which is defining language constructs that allow to program the computer in an easier way. There's the discipline of algorithms, which deals with finding best strategies to solve problems and scale with the problem size. There is the discipline of operating systems, which deal with the issue of supporting more than a single user and a single program. There's a discipline of computer graphics, which improve the graphical processing of the computer and the output of the computer. And then there's the issue of computer security, which deals with protection of information and services. So all of these are covered in the area of computer science and try to advance architectures and support architectures in their different ways. So this session had the main purpose of giving you some introduction of the basic understanding of the operation of a general computer, but I hope that the discussion can also spark your interest in these related disciplines in computer science.